The storm had swallowed the town whole. Snow piled against shuttered doors. The wind howled like something alive, and the night seemed to breathe with cold intent. Officer Reed Harlow was half a mile from the main road when his headlights caught movement. A German shepherd, ribs showing through its matted fur, dragging something dark and heavy across the snow. The blanket behind it left a trail like blood through frost. Reed slowed, heart hammering. The dog stopped, turned, and looked straight at him, eyes filled with something human, desperation, and grief. If this story moves you, stay with me till the end. It deserves to be felt, not just read. The cruiser idled against the wind, its red and blue lights flickering against sheets of snow that danced like ghosts. Reed squinted through the windshield. The shepherd was maybe 20 yards away, panting hard, for a clump with ice. It stood protectively over the blanket, growling low as the engine approached. Reed killed the siren, stepped out, boots crunching through the frost. "Easy there," he called out, voice muffled by the wind. "It's okay, boy." The dog's tail twitched, but it didn't retreat. Its body trembled, not from cold, but from exhaustion. Reed knelt slowly, hands open. His flashlight beam slid across the ground. The blanket was old, torn, frayed at the edges. The color was hard to tell under the frost, but patches of faded pink peeked through the snow. A child's blanket. Reed's throat went dry. "Hey, what V you got there?" The shepherd whimpered and nudged the blanket with its nose, then looked up again, pleading. Something inside Reed, the part of him that had seen too many late-night wrecks, too many lost things, clenched. He took another step forward. The dog didn't move. He reached for the corner of the blanket. It was heavier than he expected. Then from beneath the folds, a small, pale hand slid free. Reed froze. The world stopped. Even the wind seemed to fall silent. He dropped to his knees, brushing away snow with trembling fingers. A little girl lay curled beneath the blanket, face ghostly white, lashes clumped with frost. She couldn't have been older than 6. "Jesus Christ," Reed whispered. He fumbled for his radio. "Dispatch, this is Unit 12. I need medical at—" But before he could finish, the girl's chest moved. Just barely. Reed's voice caught. "She's breathing. She's breathing." The dog barked sharply, as if urging him to hurry. He wrapped the child in his own coat and scooped her up, rushing back toward the cruiser. The shepherd followed, limping, blood marking its paw prints in the snow. Inside, Reed cranked the heat and laid the girl across the seat. Her lips were blue, her pulse faint. He rubbed her hands, her arms. "Stay with me, sweetheart. Come on." The dog whimpered beside the door, watching every move. Reed grabbed his thermos, poured warm coffee onto a rag, and gently pressed it against her neck and chest, hoping the heat would draw her back. The girl gasped, a weak, ragged sound, but it was life. Reed exhaled hard, blinking away tears. That's it. He reached out, touching the dog's head. "You did good, boy. You did real good." The shepherd's eyes glistened. By the time paramedics arrived, the storm had worsened. They loaded the girl into the ambulance, the siren vanishing into the white void. Reed stayed behind, standing beside the dog. "Where did you come from?" he murmured. The dog limped ahead a few steps, then stopped, turning as if expecting him to follow. Reed hesitated. He should have gone back to the station, logged the rescue, waited for the storm to pass. But something in that dog's stare, loyal, haunted, urgent, told him the night wasn't over. He grabbed a flashlight and followed. The trail wound through the pines, the snow deep enough to swallow his boots. Reed's breath came in clouds, each one shorter than the last. The shepherd led with purpose, stopping now and then to glance back, ensuring he was close. Then they reached it, a small cabin, half buried in snow, its windows dark, one shutter hanging loose. Reed's pulse spiked. He approached slowly, lights sweeping across the porch. The door was cracked open. Inside, the faint smell of smoke and something metallic, blood, maybe, hung in the air. The shepherd patted in first. Reed followed, hand on his holster. The cabin's main room was a mess. Overturned furniture, a broken lamp, dry blood smeared on the floorboards. Near the hearth, A photograph lay face down. Reed picked it up. A man, a woman, and a little girl, the same one he just rescued. The father's eyes in the picture were strikingly familiar. He turned it over. On the back, written in shaky pen, "If anything happens, find Sheriff Reed Harlow." Reed's breath hitched. He stared at the name, his own name. He looked around, pulse thundering. Who the hell? A noise from the back room. A creak. He drew his gun. Sheriff's Department. "Show yourself." No answer. He pushed the door open. The room was colder than outside, windows shattered, frost crawling up the walls. In the corner, a figure, slumped unmoving. He approached, gun trembling slightly. A man sat against the wall, head bowed, dried blood at his temple, dead for at least a day. But what froze Reed's heart wasn't the corpse. It was a badge lying beside it, an old sheriff's badge. His badge. Reed staggered back. What in God's name? The dog whined, pawing at the floor. Reed's light caught something beneath the dead man's hand. A piece of paper, folded tight. He pried it loose and unfolded it. The handwriting was shaky but unmistakable. "If you're reading this, then the storm found us first. The girl's name is Lily. She's yours. You never knew about her. Her mother kept her safe as long as she could. Don't let them take her." Reed's vision blurred. The words cut through years of buried guilt. "Sarah," he whispered, his ex, the one who vanished 6 years ago without a trace. The dog, her dog, whimpered again, pressing its nose against his leg. Reed's hand trembled. The truth hit like a blow. The little girl in his cruiser wasn't a stranger. She was his daughter. Outside, thunder rolled low and heavy. Reed sank to his knees, clutching the letter, breath shaking. The dog sat beside him, silent guardian of a secret too heavy for words. And somewhere in the distance, beyond the trees, a pair of headlights flickered once, then disappeared. Someone else was out there. Someone who didn't want Lily found. The ambulance's taillights vanished into the white haze, leaving Reed, Lily, and the shepherd alone in the endless storm. He shoved the cruiser into four-wheel drive and followed the faint tracks back to the main road, every nerve alert. Lily slept fitfully, her small body curled against the warmth of his coat, her breath shallow but steady. The dog padded quietly beside the truck, ears twitching at every distant crack of snow-laden branches. Reed's mind raced. The letter, Sarah's words, the badge. It was a puzzle, and every piece pointed toward someone who had gone to great lengths to hide the truth. He knew the girl in his arms wasn't just a rescued child. She was the daughter he never knew existed. And if that meant anything, someone had spent years trying to make sure he never found out. By the time he reached the station, the snowstorm had intensified. Reed parked in the lot, running a hand through his frost-stiff hair. His boots crunched against ice as he stepped inside, the warmth of the building a jarring contrast to the storm outside. Dispatch Clerk Harper looked up from her desk. Her expression shifted from boredom to alarm when she saw Lily wrapped in his coat. "Sheriff, is she—" "She's alive," Reed interrupted, his voice tight. "But we have a situation. Get me a secure room and medical on standby." Harper nodded, quickly moving to clear a space in the old interview room. The fluorescent lights flickered, humming low, adding to the tense atmosphere. Reed carried Lily in, laying her gently on a cot and wrapping an extra blanket around her. The shepherd, now inside, circled once before settling on the floor at Reed's side. "Stay with her," Reed murmured, kneeling beside the girl. His mind spun with questions he didn't yet know how to ask. Minutes later, paramedics arrived, their faces grave as they checked Lily's vitals. Reed watched, helpless and frustrated, as they moved efficiently, their calm a sharp contrast to the storm still raging outside. "She's stable for now," one paramedic said finally, "but exposure is serious. We need to keep her warm and hydrated. Hypothermia is tricky." Reed nodded, tension leaving only slightly. "Thanks." As the paramedics left, Harper lingered. "Sheriff, that cabin, there's something you need to know. The place has been abandoned for years. The previous sheriff disappeared under mysterious circumstances. People say it's cursed." Reed's jaw tightened. "Cursed or not, Someone left that child out in the snow. Someone knew exactly what they were doing. The room fell silent. The only sound was Lily's quiet breathing and the storm lashing against the windows. Reed's mind wandered back to the photograph, the man, the woman, and the little girl. His own name scrawled on the back. It made no sense until he remembered Sarah, the ex-wife who had vanished 6 years ago. She had kept Lily safe, yes, but from whom? And why now, after all this time? Had someone tried to take her or leave her to die in the snow? He looked down at the dog, which nudged his knee as if reading his thoughts. You know more than you're letting on, don't you? The dog whined softly, then padded toward the cot, lying down protectively near Lily. Reed clenched his fists jaw tight. He would find answers. He had to. The hours passed slowly. Reed sat in the dim light of the station, Lily finally asleep, the shepherd still at watch. He pulled the letter from his coat pocket again. Sarah's handwriting trembled, desperate. Don't let them take her. The words haunted him. He knew they were still out there, and that meant someone in town, someone with knowledge of the past, was moving. He couldn't trust anyone blindly, not even old friends, not even the deputies who'd sworn loyalty. Reed thought back to Sheriff Daniels, the man who had preceded him. Daniels had disappeared the same year Sarah vanished. Some said he had gone off the grid to protect Lily. Others whispered about betrayal, corruption, and secrets buried in snow-covered forests. Reed ran his hand over his face. If Daniels was involved, he could still be alive. He needed answers, and he needed allies. He reached for the station phone and dialed an old contact, someone who had a reputation for knowing the shadows in Ashwood County better than anyone. The line clicked, then a familiar, gravelly voice answered. Reed? Long time. You're sounding tense. I need help, Reed said quickly, lowering his voice. It's about Sarah, Lily, and the cabin near Ashwood Road. There was a pause on the other end, heavy and measured. You sure you want to dig this up? Some things in Ashwood are better left buried. Reed's eyes hardened. I'm done waiting. The voice sighed. All right, meet me at the old mill 2 hours from now. Bring the girl? I'll bring the girl, Reed confirmed. Outside, the storm hadn't relented. Reed bundled Lily, careful to keep her warm, and secured the dog in the back seat. The drive was treacherous, snow and ice coating the old country roads. He kept one hand on the wheel, the other lightly resting on Lily, willing her to sleep through the night. By the time he reached the old mill, the world had transformed into a silver-white wasteland. Reed parked on the skeletal frame of the abandoned building, engine off, and stepped out into the biting cold. The wind cut through his coat, and every creak of the structure sounded like footsteps following him. A shadow moved among the broken machinery. A figure emerged, tall and broad-shouldered, had pulled low against the storm. Reed recognized him immediately. It was Mason Black, a man who had once been an ally, now someone whose loyalty was as uncertain as the snow beneath their feet. Mason, Reed called, voice firm, I need the truth. Mason's eyes flicked toward Lily in Reed's arms. You shouldn't have brought her here. Reed stepped forward, anger rising. She's my daughter, Mason. You know that. And someone tried to leave her to die. Mason's gaze fell conflicted. There's a lot you don't know. About Sarah, about your past, about the people still watching Ashwood. Reed's heart raced. Then tell me. Now! Mason swallowed hard, glancing nervously at the skeletal walls of the mill. All of it. But it'll change everything you thought you knew. Reed squared his shoulders. I've lived with lies long enough. Mason nodded slowly, then took a deep breath. Then you need to see what's in the archives at the county hall. What's hidden there explains why Sarah disappeared, why Lily was hidden, and why the people who want her now are more dangerous than you can imagine. Reed's jaw tightened. We do it tonight? Mason hesitated. Tonight, but we have to be careful. Someone is already moving against us, and they know the child is awake. Reed glanced at Lily, peaceful in sleep, the storm raging outside. His hand went to the dog, now standing beside him. Loyalty in fur and bone. Reed knew they were the only line of defense against what was coming. The three of them, man, child, and dog, moved toward the mill's interior, the snow swallowing their tracks as the wind howled like a warning through the skeletal beams. And somewhere beyond the walls of Ashwood, unseen eyes watched, waiting for the right moment to strike. The county archives smelled of old paper, mildew, and a faint tang of rust. Reed, Mason, and the shepherd entered through a side door Mason had picked months earlier, long before the storm, when curiosity had first led him to investigate Ashwood's darkest secrets. The building's lights flickered, the hum of the aged fluorescent bulbs low and unsteady. Dust floated in the air like tiny ghosts, disturbed by their footsteps on the warped floorboards. Mason led Reed to a back room, barricaded with metal gate. "The files are in there," he whispered. "Everything about Sarah's disappearance, the old sheriff, Lily's existence. But once we open it, there's no turning back." Reed's gaze flicked to the dog, which growled softly, tail stiff. The animal sensed the tension, the danger layer beneath decades of secrecy. Reed's hand rested on the gate. He inhaled sharply. "Let's see it." The lock clicked. Mason pushed the gate open, and the room revealed rows of filing cabinets, each labeled meticulously with dates, names, and codes only a few would recognize. Mason began pulling out folders, sifting quickly. Reed hovered over a table, scanning titles. Missing Children 2018-2019, Ashwood Sheriff Records, closed cases, sensitive. Then his eyes froze on one folder marked, "Harlow, confidential." "This is it," Mason murmured, placing it on the table. Reed opened the folder carefully, almost reverently. Inside were photographs, letters, and official reports. And then he saw her handwriting again, Sarah's. The letter was precise, clinical in parts, desperate in others. "I cannot trust anyone. If anyone discovers Lily exists, they will take her. Ashwood has people who play God and cover sins in blood. You must protect her until the time comes." Reed's hand shook as he flipped through photographs of a younger Sarah, smiling, holding Lily as a newborn. And then he saw it. A set of documents, blacked out in places, detailing a secret adoption plan, a cover-up involving the former sheriff, Daniels, and several town officials. Lily had been hidden deliberately, moved from foster home to foster home, until the only safe place was Sarah herself. They wanted to erase her," Reed whispered, horrified. "Erase her from existence." Mason nodded, grim. "And now, after all these years, someone's trying to undo it. Take her. For what? We don't fully know yet, but they're tied to the same corruption that's haunted Ashwood for decades." Reed's gaze hardened. He stuffed the folder into his coat. "Then we make sure they fail." Outside, the wind howled like a predator. Reed peered through the grimy windows. Shadows moved, fleeting glimpses of headlights, silhouettes among the snow-drenched trees. They were close. "We're not alone," Mason said quietly. "They've been following us since the station. They know Lily's alive." The dog growled, body low, hackles raised. Reed nodded. "Good. That means we got a warning." He took a deep breath, drawing on every ounce of patience and grit he had. "We need a plan. We keep Lily hidden. We find the people behind this. And we finish what Sarah started." Mason hesitated. "There's one more thing you need to see. The evidence isn't just here. There's a place where it all began, Daniel's cabin. The original crime scene. And it's not far from the cemetery where the dog found Lily." Reed's stomach tightened. He thought back to the night, the snow, the frozen trail, the blanketed child. "Then we go there. Tonight." The drive was tense, silent except for the storm lashing against the old cruiser. Lily slept, bundled, and the shepherd stayed alert in the back. Reed kept checking his mirrors, noting the faint glow of headlights that appeared intermittently, always just out of reach. Finally, they reached the cabin, hidden behind snow-laden pines. Reed's flashlight cut through the darkness, revealing the broken walls, the warped porch. Memories of that first night came flooding back. The lifeless stillness, the trail of blood, the blanket in the snow. Mason moved to the side. Here's where it all started. Daniels was covering something. Sarah found out, tried to protect Lily. They both disappeared because of it. Reed scanned the perimeter. Then we finish it. We uncover it. Inside, The cabin was eerily quiet, cold, smelling of decay and something metallic. Reed's flashlight caught a hidden trapdoor beneath a loose floorboard. He pried it open, stairs leading down into darkness. Basement. Mason whispered. Reed nodded. The dog growled low, pressing close to Reed's leg. They descended slowly. The basement was small, concrete, and lined with crates and filing boxes. Reed's light fell on a rusted metal cabinet. He opened it carefully. Inside were papers, photographs, and a small box, a locket. Inside the locket, a picture of Sarah and a newborn Lily. Reed's hands trembled. She kept this all this time for me. Then a noise behind them. Footsteps, heavy, deliberate. Reed spun, gun drawn. Shadows moved in the doorway. A man stepped forward, snow melting off his coat. His face was familiar, one of the officials named in Sarah's letters. "I knew you'd come eventually," he said calmly, "but you shouldn't have brought her." Reed's pulse raced. "She's my daughter. You won't touch her." The man smiled thinly. "You don't understand. This isn't about you. It's about Ashwood, about control, and she threatens everything we've built." Mason moved to Reed's side. "You're not taking her. Not while we're here." The standoff stretched, taut as wire. The wind outside rattled the broken windows like a drumbeat, counting down to something inevitable. The dog barked sharply, low and menacing, growling at the intruder. Then, with a sudden movement, the man lunged for the locket. Reed fired. A single shot, precise. The man collapsed, groaning, eyes wide in disbelief. Reed didn't move until he confirmed the threat was neutralized. Breathless, he turned to the dog, who nuzzled Lily's cheek protectively. Mason exhaled. That should keep them at bay for now. Reed held Lily close. The weight of years of guilt, fear, and loss pressed against him, then lifted slightly. She stirred, eyes fluttering open, and smiled faintly. "Daddy?" Reed's throat tightened. "Yeah, it's me, sweetheart. I've got you." Outside, the storm began to ease. The snow, once blinding, softened into a gentle drift. Reed looked at the shepherd, now lying exhausted but alert. The dog had carried the burden of loyalty through the storm, through death and danger, guiding him to the truth. Mason glanced at Reed. "You think it's really over?" Reed shook his head slowly. "No, but right now she's safe. That's what matters." For the first time in years, Reed allowed himself to hope. He stepped outside, snow crunching beneath boots, holding Lily close. The wind carried the smell of pine and thawing earth, a quiet promise that life could rebuild even from the coldest darkness. The dog nudged him, tail wagging faintly, as if acknowledging a job well done. Reed looked down at the animal and whispered, "Thank you, boy, for everything." And for the first time since that frozen night, Reed let himself cry. Tears not of loss, but relief, love, and a future reclaimed from the shadows. The cabin behind them stood silent, a witness to secrets buried and now revealed. The storm's fury had passed, leaving behind quiet, fragile peace, and a family reunited at last.